Another great functionality of SketchUp to be aware of is what it calls inferencing tools. And really where this comes into play to be a great feature is in construction of roofs. Now it's great for so many other things, but I'm going to show you in the construction of roofs its importance. So to quickly draw, let's say, a house of 100 feet by 50 feet, pull this up to 10 feet, so something very basic like that. Now drawing this roof is actually pretty simple. We'll draw this plane here. I'm going to offset it, say 24 inches to make 24-inch overhang. I'm going to hit Control G to make this a group. Come in here. I'm going to double click this face right here, which will select this face and the perimeter outline, and I hit delete, which leaves me with simply my overhang outline. Now we can get into the fancy overhang detail, the trim and soffit and all that kind of stuff, including the roof outline, but we're just going to stick with something basic, just doing the basic triangle roof right now. And so a quick way of doing this is I'm going to come out here 12 inches this way, and then let's say down 6 inches to do a 12-on-6 roof. Now what this does for me is I can now start drawing a line from this point, and you see if I kind of go along this angle, I now have this pink line, which tells me I'm parallel to that edge, so I know that I'm drawing on a 12-on-6 pitch. Now if I start drawing and move the mouse, it actually turns. You can see I can lock on to the green axis, which is the X or the Y, come this way to the red, which is the Y or the X, and come up, which blue axis will be the Z axis. So if I want to stay locked on an axis, once I hit it, if I press and hold the Shift key, you see that the line turns bold. Now wherever I move my mouse, it is locked on that axis. If I come to the green, hit Shift, I'm locked on the green. The blue, I'm locked on the blue. And again, now this magenta, if I come across here, if I press and hold Shift, you can see I'm locked on this 12-on-6 angle. Now I'm just going to draw a line and come way out. And then I'm going to come up here, find my midpoint. You see it's telling me it's my midpoint, and find my blue face vertical, hit Shift to lock. And if I touch this line, you can see I locked there. And lastly, if I come across the bottom, you can see I now drew this triangle. Now I can erase my guideline over here. I'm going to triple click this to select all the pieces. I could have double clicked, hit Control X to cut it, and I'm going to drop this into my outline group. I'm going to hit Control V to paste it in there. And now what was important about hitting the midpoint right here is you can automatically already tell that the way this rectangle is set up, my peak is going to run right across here. So my triangle is set up perfectly to hit a perfect peak and make it very simple. It won't always be this simple, but we can get into some more complex roofs in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this triangle. Actually I'm going to select, I'm going to double click to select this bottom face. And then I'm going to hit F. For me, that is my follow me command shortcut. It might be different on yours, as well as the icon. You might use the icons. I tend to use hotkeys that I set up. And now if I click this triangle, you'll see it creates a perfect roof. I can come under here and just get rid of these extra lines that it created. An important tip, faces. It is always important for the face to be white, showing out. Now you can click this face, right click and go reverse face, right click, reverse face, and do that for all of them. I'm just going to select them all. I have Shift R set up as a hotkey to allow this to reverse faces. So selecting them all, Shift R reverses the faces. And now I have my roof, and I'm simply just going to close this, which now makes this a solid. Going back to our solid tools, it's always important to keep things as solid. So you can see that's a quick roof and how inferencing helped on a very basic roof. Now we're going to show you how inferencing can help on a much more complex roof. So let's say we have something like this going on. Maybe this comes out to here. So inferencing working on plans, if I hit this corner, you can see I'm pulling out, it's actually locked in on that face. So you can see I have something like this going on. Let's pull this up, 10 feet. I'm going to turn this into a group. I'm going to select this face, hit Control C, come back here, Control Paste, Control G for making group, and then come in here. And again, I'm going to select this, offset 24 inches, double click, erase. Now I have my 24-inch overhang. And then I'm going to come in here and inside my overhang group, I'm going to do something similar and do 12 and 6, which will give me my guideline that I need to hit my 12 on 6 slope. But instead of hitting the midpoint, I'm actually going to come way short, just for showing you how inferencing can really work in putting a complex roof together. I'm going to select this face, double clicking so that the whole outline is selected, and then I'm going to hit F to follow me on this roof. And you can see I quickly have the basic part of this roof put together. I'm actually going to select that face, hit Control X, and come down here and just add this line in. Let me see if I can close this. Sometimes it takes a couple lines to close. Let's just add a couple of these lines in until, there we go. Get rid of those. And now I'm going to triple click this so everything is selected, Control G. Now I'm going to hit Control Shift V, which is paste in place. It's different than Control V, which just pastes it back in, where Control Shift V places it exactly where I copied it from. And now what I can do is I can push pull this up to meet here, triple click this, Control G to make that a solid. So now I have two solids, and again using our solid command, I have my hotkey of Alt C set to do combine. So I'm going to combine this with this and then explode, and I have now one solid base roof. But we still are missing the peaks, and that's where our inferencing is going to come in to help us. So if I start here, just like anything else, you start with what you know. I know that this will come to a peak. So you can see if I bring this down, I'm going to hit Shift, which will lock it in. And you can just draw a line up to anywhere, really. And then take this piece and draw this line up. And you can see that the two intersect and start creating that peak. So I know this peak will come all the way over to here. And inferencing also works now. You can see I'm locked in on the red peak axis, hitting Shift to lock in on the axis, and I can come down here, and if I touch this angle, and get to a view that really highlights it, if I touch this angle, it tells me that that's the exact pinpoint spot where my peak would end by this angle. So I click this face and then just drop down, connecting the dots, and you can see my roof is quickly being built. Let me come here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm on my magenta, hit Shift, and now I can touch this face even, which gives me a perfect peak right there. And again, coming all the way across, touching this face, and that gives me a perfect peak there. Now coming here, there's a couple ways we can do this. Now I can draw a magenta line, hit Shift, which would give me a locking in here. And I know that really I want to be locked in here. And this is coming up a little further, which is fine. We'll deal with that in a second, because really it would go the other way. But the important piece is it's giving us our peak. And that's really what we're dealing with right now for this roof. And if I come across and touch here, then it's giving me exactly what I need. And you'll see now if I hit the magenta line here, touching here, what's going to happen is I now can connect this piece to this piece, and similarly come here to here and here to here. We'll clean up some of these lines in a moment. And now you can see that really what would happen if I continue this line to here, that's going to give me my peak in the opposite direction, which we're looking for. So we'll get rid of that piece. And now you can see that we have just built the roof. And now we would go through and clean up these lines. I actually have a command that does it for me, and we'll get into that command in a little bit. So now you can see that we have a quick way of building roofs. And coming back to the solid tools, what could be interesting is, say that we want to edit this roof. First, let's start maybe the house shifts. So we want this house to be pulled in by 20 feet. We can double click this roof, just select this face and move the face in 20 feet. Simple enough. We now adjusted the roof. We're good to go. Say they came in and we wanted to add this piece on, and we're going to put this extension on so the house does something like this. An easy way to deal with this is we can now draw what I like to call a cutting box. And we're just going to draw a random box, and the important piece is that we are beyond this face because I want to cut this roof. So now, using my solid tools, I'm going to hit Alt V, which I have set up as a hot command for subtraction. This is going to be my cutting box, and I'm going to cut the roof. And you can see I can quickly get rid of that roof in a place where I can now just quickly rebuild the roof over here. I'm going to draw a vertical line, hit my blue axis, and then down here, and simply going to draw a line around the new part of the house and just come just short of the roof. It just helps to keep things a little cleaner sometimes. And if I select the path I want it to travel, just the pieces I need, and then F for this roof to follow, you can see I quickly added that piece on. And this is where I can come push pull this piece back here and start cleaning up my roof pieces that I need. And importantly, I can start using my inference tools to rebuilding this roof. That was not the right piece. Let's go with what we know, which is, at first I want to do this as a solid. I'm going to draw this and copy this out and undo, because what I want to do is turn that into a solid, add this piece in, pull it up here, make that a solid, combine, and it just gives us a nice base to work with. So I'm going to come to this peak here, and I know that I can easily draw that in, and I know this would come to here and go like this, and I know this peak would come here and go there. And so you can see that inferencing the roof is a quick way that you can change, add, or complete a roof as you need. And it's a great way of inferencing is a great way to create roofs really quickly, and solid tools, as you can see, is a great way for editing them.